Hi, I'm Picasso with the Eagle Riders MC here in Las Vegas, and I am here with...
I'm Hollywood with Black Patch Las Vegas.
Cool. So we have done one of these already. We're going to do another video answering questions from our viewers. So these are people who have left comments in the comment section. So please be sure to do that, and we were happy to answer them for you. So we found a couple interesting comments which we thought were worthy of answering. So that's what we're here to do. So who's our first one?
So we've got, I don't think there is any way to pronounce this.
Right.
It's GS-ZI1UJ. This person says, MCs claim to live outside the rules of the average rider, yet they have more rules and politics than the average person. That is a good point.
Yeah.
A valid point, an observation. What do you think about that?
Well, I think for people that are on the outside, maybe even you ride a motorcycle, but you're not part of the club culture, it could seem like there's all these rules, right? But it's like anything. These rules were put in place for a reason. We recently, not long ago, some time back, we reviewed the movie Bike Riders, which had come out a while ago.
Right here.
Yeah, and so we'll put a link to that video. And so it was a great movie. We both liked it. But a lot of what the movie was about was understanding their history and their culture and, how that club has evolved. And so a lot of clubs have followed those same kind of protocols and those same, if you want to call them rules, right? But a lot of these rules were put in place to preserve traditions. It was designed to maintain the culture that we have all kind of agreed to establish through the MC world, through, riders clubs and so forth, right? So a lot of these seem like we have all these rules. And I hear this a lot, like, you guys are all a bunch of rebels and, how is it if everybody's like rebelling against society, have all these rules? Well, it's not so much about having like rules per se. It's really more like, a framework and guidelines behind how we establish our culture. And I think the more, or the less rather, we enforce those things, the more our culture tends to erode. And a lot of this culture was established before we were born.
Yeah.
And, a lot of this goes, a ways back. You could even trace a lot of our club history to basically the World War II era, even to a certain degree a little bit before that. And, as a lot of the clubs started to evolve coming out of that generation, that's kind of how they were starting to preserve and understand that we need to establish a framework to how our culture is going to work, whether it's within our own club or how we interact with other clubs.
It's kind of just, as something gets larger, it can become, I don't want to say anarchy, but you need something to contain it in a way.
Right.
Our country is kind of, any country is an example of that. As it gets bigger, there's just things you can't contain. So you need rules and regulations to contain it, not restrict, but to, or a better way, maybe guide it.
Yeah.
To keep it in the path it's supposed to have been going.
Right.
As you mentioned, the Bike Riders was a good example of that progression, where you see a club that was just starting out, was pretty lawless or ruleless. I don't know what the proper term would be for that, but they were just hanging out, having a good time, partying. It didn't seem like there was a lot of issues going on. But as the time progressed and then they actually grew, things started decaying in a lot of ways. Or I don't want to say decay, they went a different route. And if you don't catch that, it can be completely opposite of what the main idea of the club would be. So you kind of start creating these rules, regulations, if you to keep it in that direction.
Yeah,
it's gonna expand. Think of it as like a reverse funnel. You've got the thin part, your club's going down this certain direction, and you're all tight, close. It's all working perfectly. But then as you grow, it's nature that it's gonna do this.
Right.
So you got to keep it in that funnel, so it's not just everywhere. And there's a lot of that in any kind of culture of people blaming or accusing of those people are taking over our culture and this and that. And that's part of it, I think, with the rules and regulations.
Sure.
But that movie is a great example, because you see that progression and why there's rules.
Right.
They're still free, still can do a lot of things, but now there's a something new that's causing you to have that.
Well, and a lot of these rules are not necessarily arbitrary. They might seem that way to somebody on the outside, but they're not. So it's like even things like taking your sunglasses off when you introduce yourself, right? I mean, it sounds trivial, but in our world, that's a significant thing, and it's a sign of respect or a lack of respect, depending on what you're doing, right? And it's not a huge thing. But it can be to some people, because for some people, they see it as if you're not doing that, it's a sign of disrespect for what they have earned their keep with in their motorcycle community, right? So, it sounds like we have a lot of rules. it's really not so much about rules; it's about just kind of preserving our traditions.
And so I was looking up the definition of protocol, as it's fitting. This is the Biker Protocol channel. So the official protocol is actually the official procedure or system of rules governing affairs of a state or diplomatic occasion. So it's just keeping, like, the official rules would be like when the culture started, right? It's those rules, keeping it to that, I guess there's a lot of ways you can interpret it, but keeping it within that governing, as they put, diplomatic occasion, or whatever. So that's all it is. And as time went by, stuff changed, and unfortunately now, maybe someone can't associate with someone else because of stuff that's changed.
Right.
So there's that rule now. There's a big phrase, I mentioned it before, a lot of rules and laws were paved in blood. And it's, like you said, the iron, right?
Yeah.
If someone put an iron on their head, that's why there's a
sticker. Don't put the iron on your head,
so
right? Yeah.
You can look at it this any which way. It's no different than a lot of other aspects in life.
No, it's all true. So it was a good question.
Yeah, definitely.
Our next question is, and before we get to our next question, please be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. It helps us build this channel up a lot, bring us more videos. So please click the like and subscribe and the bell notification so you can get notifications for all our upcoming videos. So our next question comes from, I'm going to try to say this name, Brap Chop 5925. He or she says, honestly, I'm intrigued by you guys. So while we're here, let me ask, at what point in your motorcycle riding journey did you decide that just riding your motorcycle and hanging out with your boys wasn't enough, and why you needed to turn that amazing activity into a corporate hierarchy with a laundry list of regulations and protocol? Wasn't your day job just oppressive enough, right? So it's kind of an interesting question, and we talk about this a lot. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
I think, so at least speaking for myself, ride motorcycles, have fun with the bros or whatever, and it's all good and fun. But one of my specific reasons when I went to Prospect, they asked, why do you want to join? I said, I want to be part of something larger than myself. And yes, you can get around, hang out with your bros. And my experience, I, as growing up and all the friends I've had, they all kind of go and do their thing. They go have families and kids and jobs. They move away, and it's all fine. And sometimes you stay in contact, sometimes you don't. There's always the few that, and if you look back at a lot of relationships and friendships and stuff, the few that you had the craziest times or the adventures or crap happened, right? Those are the ones that you always talk to.
The best memories, yeah.
And that's kind of where I was at with, like, I want to have a group of people like that, we're going to go through some times, good, bad, and it will create a strong bond where, like, it's not like they're going to move away and I'll never hear from them again. If they do move away, I'll hear. I mean, we've had members move away, and I hear from them almost on a daily basis, a weekly basis at least. And I may have not even seen them face to face for like months. That's kind of where it went for me to want to do this. How about you?
No, very similar. I grew up kind of when I was a kid. I used to ride dirt bikes and stuff, and so when I kind of got out of that and I decided I want to get a motorcycle again as I started getting into adulthood, I didn't know a lot of people that rode, and really, honestly, it was like I got into it. My wife grew up with it because her parents rode Harleys forever. And so she grew up riding on the back of bikes. So she was like, as a kid, she was always used to being on the back of her dad's bike, and she loved it. So I thought about getting a motorcycle again, and I bought one. And so I'm like, well, I don't know anybody that rides. And I had a couple friends that did, but they would be like, they'd get on the bikes like once every couple of months, just kind of how it was. And I wanted to ride. And so I was looking into the community, and I kind of had evolved in getting some friends that were very active in the motorcycle MC world, and became very good friends of them. And then we started our club and so forth. It's a long story. I was actually kind of riding with an RC for a little bit before. That's a long story. But my point being is that eventually I was seeking out people, kind of like what you were saying. I was looking I wanted to get involved with something that was bigger than just me. That I could, I love the community aspect of a lot of the motorcycle community, everything from doing charity events to doing their own events and hanging out in that culture. And I really enjoyed it a lot. And so that's kind of how I evolved into it. And that's why a lot of people do, I think. So,
you can look at any kind of organization that's been around forever, the Eagles fraternity, the Elks Lodge, those types of things. It's everyone gets something different because everyone has a different answer when you say, why do you want to join a club? But I think a good commonality is that connection with people. And we've done a video for prospecting, which we'll link up
Yeah.
here, and that's a good example of what you get out of it, because prospecting makes that it helps initiate that connection because you're putting work into it. Like anything worth having is worth putting work into. There's a phrase somewhere in there. I'm not.
I know,
not-
yeah.
You got to work for it to be worth it.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. So like you've got a group of people that are working hard for it on these rules, regulations. They're in this but you're all doing the same thing, and you all know the struggle to get to that point. So it's just a big connection, I think.
Yeah.
And the bonds, and then we have a lot of fun times. And I don't know, and the tradition, the
Yeah.
culture too, because
Yeah.
you create your own tradition within your clubs.
Absolutely. And a lot of it for me was like not knocking RCs because there's a lot of great RCs that I've run into over the years. But for me, it was like I didn't want to get like the more immersed I got into it, the more directly connected I was with the people that were in it in my own club.
Yeah.
And so it felt more like I felt more family with these people rather than just people I ride a motorcycle with.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I got into understanding MC culture more and appreciating it more because that's what I wanted. I didn't know it at the time, but I think I eventually learned like this level of establishment is more for what I want
Yeah.
out of riding with a bunch of people rather than just going out on a ride once a week.
I think you got to have some form of like wanting to be social.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
for sure.
To be in a club, because that's a big aspect of it.
Oh,
is
yeah.
You all like to ride motorcycles, but you like to hang out too, whether
Right.
it be just sitting around doing nothing or going to parties, events, whatever, campouts.
Yeah.
That's a big aspect of it too. So I think, we can't speak for everyone, but I think that says a lot of why we did it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people can agree with it.
Yeah.
But they'll have their own opinions.
Sure.
I hope that covers the question.
Hope
there.
that answers your questions. Yeah. Please be sure to write more. We love reading. We read all of everybody's comments in the comment section, good and bad.
Yeah, we have some
But
fun
yeah.
with them. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But we
Yeah.
really appreciate your comments. So please leave more if you want us to answer any future questions. We would love to do that. Also, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. It really, really helps us a lot. And click the notification bells. Every week we have a new video coming out, so you'll get the notification for that. So
Yeah.
thanks again for watching our video today. We hope that was helpful, and we hope the viewers that got their questions answered, we hope that did it for you. So thanks again. Oh, we got
Shall we do a
yeah.
shot to GS-ZI1UJ
Yeah.
and Brap Chop?
Wrap Chop
5925.
5925. Thanks again, guys. Cheers. Thanks again for watching. Peace out. Have a great week. We'll see you on the next video.